Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. Hello. Hello, can you hear me?
Good morning. Good evening. Good evening.
Okay, it's okay. Now, give me a second. Hello. Hello. Hello.
Hello, madam.
Right, okay. Please respond, dear. And today we will start with this is curriculum, theory and practice. Okay. Today we will start. We are in curriculum, theory and practice. Am I right?
Yes, madam.
Yeah. And this is session 2. And we will recap the three main approaches to curriculum design. We discussed it already. We have discussed it already. What are the three main approaches to curriculum design? We have done it last time, the day before. What are the three main approaches to curriculum design? Can't remember.
Forward approach,
Yeah.
central, and the
Backward approach. And I told you I will be actually doing a recap on the same today as the first part of the second session. So I have a small note on this. The three main approaches to curriculum design: forward, central, and backward design, Kela. So curriculum design actually is very complex. And it's a multifaceted process because you have to consider several components like ILOs, the subject matter or the content, then the methodology or the learning experience, and then how to evaluate or all the components components should be taken into consideration as it's multifaceted process, right? So, so there are actually three main approaches to curriculum design. They are forward, central, and mud. So each of these approaches has its own framework, as I told last time, the principles for developing curriculum, and they differ in terms of where the focus begins, the curriculum is structured. So, especially in their alignment, content and output. Input is the ILOs, the objectives. Content is the subject matter. Output is content. Very sorry. Input is the content. Then you have the process. Process is the learning experience. And then you have the ILOs, that is the objectives. Okay. Assessment evaluation is not actually taken into consideration in the discussion design. So if you take the forward design, okay, how these three components like uh, content, process, and objectives aligned, that is what we look at. So if you take the forward design, the traditional design, as I discussed it last time, it's a linear approach to curriculum development. Linear means one after the other only. The components are decided. Okay. Uh, then how they typically start? They start with the what are the content? What is the subject matter that we have to teach? That is the first kind of concern. Once the content is actually decided, you can actually decide the methodology, the process of teaching. And once the process is done, you will think of what will be the intended learning outcomes based on the content and the process. Content, teaching, and assessment, right? Then key features. Focus on the content to be delivered. Teachers design lessons and instructional material based on the topics they plan to teach. Assessments are created after the content and teach methods are determined, right? According to the output in curriculum. In a traditional history course, a teacher may start by outlining the topics to be covered, such as the Civil War, the Industrial Revolution, the World War, the First World War. That is what I want to teach. කියලා තමයි මුලින්ම content එක තමයි decide කරන්නේ. They then plan specific lessons and assessment for each topic, such as quizzes or essays, how to teach. This is the methodology and how to assess. And accordingly, what will be the outcome. Okay. This design also has its own advantages and disadvantages. What are the advantages? Works well for content heavy subjects. Works well for content heavy subject. Clear and straightforward for teachers who are expert in the content. Okay. Clear and straightforward. What are the disadvantages? It is content focused, learning outcomes, right? Um, Actually, it will not address students' needs. If you actually learn, and accordingly that you can develop the ILOs or the objectives, and then you will select the content and the methodology, then of course you're catering to the students' needs. But here you decide the content, and then you accordingly select the way to teach the learning experience and then the output. So it will not interests and needs. That is a disadvantage in the forward approach. Uh, is it understood? Is it okay? Yes or no? I want you to respond, dear.
Understood, madam.
Right. That is Krishna. Very good. Then we'll go to central design. Okay. In the central design, the focus on learner or learning experience. That is the methodology. The focus is on the methodology. This approach aims to develop a curriculum that responds to students' needs and interests. The focus is based on learning experiences that are engaging, meaningful, and relevant to the students, with an emphasis on integrating learning. It's actually cyclic, but the focus is on the learning experiences or the methodologies, taking into consideration. Actually, when I was at SNEC campus, I was teaching maritime English. So I actually first decided they have to do presentations, they have to write reports, they have to maintain logbooks, all that. So I decided I should get them to write books. I will get them to um, uh, maintain reports. I will get them to do presentations. So they are methodologies. So I first decided on that. Then I said the subject matter and the what kind of materials to be used and all that. Focus was on the methodology. So that is at students' needs, the maritime students' needs. Only that I decided these are the ways that I should teach, right? So key features focuses on the needs, interests of the curriculum. It's non-linear, right? Focus is on the process, teaching methodology, but the others are concurrently developed. Learners' learning styles, prior knowledge, contexts are considered. Context, everything is taken into consideration. Okay. Advantage is the basic advantage is the main advantage is it caters to the students' needs and interests. Encourage active learning and engagement because utility value is very high. They can see that this is going to be very useful because I have to do presentations, I have to write reports and all that. So it's motivating and their engagement is very high. The disadvantage is can be challenging to standardize and assess outcomes. Normally, the standardized curriculum, they won't start with the teaching methodology component, right? Because it's not the traditional way. So it's a challenge. Requires more time and effort to design. So that is the central design. Then we will go to the backward design. If you take the backward design, the focus is on the end results, the output, the intended learning outcomes. So you will do a need analysis and you will learn what the students want to learn. And then accordingly that you will actually set the objectives of the curriculum, right? This should be the intended learning outcomes, the objectives, okay? And then after that you will decide on the content and the methodology to be used in order to achieve this intended learning outcomes. Now the present local syllabus used in this government schools, it is actually backward design approach is used because they first decided what are the competencies and competency levels to be developed. That is the outcome. That is the objective. And accordingly that they selected the content for the achievement of the objectives and the methodologies to carry this out. Okay. So starts with clear learning goals and objectives, focuses on what students should understand and be able to do by the end of the course. Assessments are designed first, followed by teaching strategies and content. Then what are the advantages? What are the disadvantages? Advantages is ensure that the curriculum is focused on desired outcomes. It is standardization is there, right? Helps to align teaching assessment with the skills and knowledge students need to acquire. Encourages clear, meaning, measurable goals for students' learning. And by disadvantage, when it will not cater to the students' immediate needs and interests. Students ට ඕන දේවල් නෙවෙයි උගන්වන්නේ නේද? අර achievement, what are the objectives කියලා decided at the curriculum development level. So they decide what should be taught to them කියලා. And can be time consuming and challenging to implement effectively without careful planning. So that is it. And then there is the summary that you can read. Okay. I will actually drop this note into the chat box before we stop for the day. Okay. Okay, the dear.
Okay, madam.
Yeah, this is a recap on what we did last time on curriculum design approaches. That is the three main approaches and what is the focus, whether it's linear or non-linear, like that. Okay. Then today we start with different types of curriculum. Different types of curriculum. So there are several classifications for the different types of curriculum, but I have taken a classification where they look at 7 different types of curriculum. Okay, curricula or curriculums. So I open the document for you now. Right. Is it shared? No. It's the same one. Now, can you see types of curriculum?
Not yet, madam.
No,
Okay, dear. Right, we'll see. Types of curriculum. Curriculum refers to the planned and organized set of educational experiences provided to students. We all know that because we looked at definitions of curriculum and the keywords in a definition of curriculum. So we actually learn it as a plan and organized set of educational experiences here. We know that. But there are different types of curricula, each emphasizing different aspects of teaching and learning. There are different types of curricula emphasizing different aspects of teaching and learning. So below are a classification of the main types of curriculum along with explanations and examples. Okay. So we will look at the first type. Of formal curriculum or the explicit curriculum. First type or one of the 7 types is formal curriculum or the explicit curriculum. What is meant by formal curriculum or the explicit curriculum? It is the official formal curriculum that is written down and delivered by the educational institutions, schools, or the universities. Now, in your university, also in the Apex campus, they have a curriculum. It is in black and white. It is written, right? And these are the subjects, these are the modules, these are the course descriptors for each and every module. There is a curriculum developed. It is the written formal curriculum, okay? Used by the schools or the universities or any educational institute. Normally, these explicit formal curriculum, it is designed by curriculum developers, educators, right? Normally they outline specific subjects, topics, learning outcomes, teaching methods, and assessments that students are expected to engage with. So the written curriculum of a school or a campus or an institute is the document that specifies what is to be taught, what subjects to be taught, how to assess them, what are the methodologies to be used, etc. Now, in your first semester, what are the modules, second semester, what are the modules, how you are assessed, how many written assignments, how many PowerPoint presentations, what is the weightage for the final, that is assessment, like what is the content, right? Accordingly, that we teach you. So it is the written curriculum developed by the curriculum developers, educators, right? Which is actually is a framework of the input, the subject matter, the topics, the content, learning outcomes, ILOs, learning experiences, teaching methods, and how to assess them here. They are the components of a curriculum. No? So that is the framework that outlines these components, and it's written and it is available in black and white, and it is designed by the curriculum developers or educators. Right. Key features of a written or explicit curriculum clearly outlined in official documents like syllabi, textbooks, or educational standards. Structured with specific learning objectives and assessment. Often follows government or institutional guidelines. Okay. Your degree is given by which university? It's affiliated university. What is the university? It's an affiliated degree, no? You get a degree from which university? Foreign university, no?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, what's the university?
IIC University.
Uh-uh.
IIC University.
IIC University where?
Cambodia.
Cambodia. The IIC University Cambodia. Now you have to know they have sent Apex Campus this written document, right? That is the written curriculum in which it is stated what are the modules, what is the content, what are the methodologies, and how to assess them. What is the weightage for ongoing assessments? What is the weightage for written assessment, written examination, etc. That is the written curriculum or the explicit curriculum. Here is an example. A mathematics curriculum for 10th grade students might include topics such as algebra, geometry, and whatever. The curriculum specifies the learning objectives such that students will be able to solve quadratic equations like that, and include scheduled assessments like midterm and final evaluation of students' progress. Right? Very clear measurable outcomes is curriculum. There are very clear measurable outcomes. And it is standardized because as it has clearly stated outcomes, it is a standardized curriculum. Okay. Whoever actually implement the curriculum, they know at the end of the day what the students will be able to do. Objectives or the ILOs are clearly stated. So the uniformity is there. Right? Whoever implement the curriculum, whether it's in Cambodia or Sri Lanka, it doesn't matter. It's the same thing taught because clearly stated ILOs, contents, methodologies, assessment is there in the written document. Disadvantage is very rigid, not adaptable to students' unique needs and interests. They can't do that because the curriculum is prescriptive. You can't change that as the doctor's prescription. So it is rigid, not flexible, not adaptable. In the Sri Lankan context, what you want to learn, එහෙම කියලා වෙනස් කරන්න බෑ ඒක. Right? Okay. Can be overly focused on content, neglecting the development of critical thinking or soft skills. Normally, a written curriculum and explicit curriculum is knowledge subject oriented, right? Rather than the skill development, it actually focuses on the content, neglecting the critical thinking and skill development. Okay, that is there. Okay, we will go to the next type, the second type. It is the implicit curriculum or the hidden curriculum. Implicit curriculum or the hidden curriculum. Are you listening?
Yes, madam.
Yeah, implicit curriculum or the hidden curriculum. Now, what is meant by implicit or the hidden curriculum? It is not written, it is not available in black and white. It is actually unwritten and unofficial, right? The schools have a hidden curriculum, implicit curriculum. It is not available in black and white, it is unwritten, it is unofficial. Often unintended lessons that students learn through environment, school culture, and teacher behaviors. Now, there is a hidden curriculum, implicit curriculum, which is not written, which is not designed by the curriculum developers, which is not standardized. But that hidden curriculum, which is unwritten, uh, is actually what it means is the students learn through the school culture, teacher behaviors, and from the environment. Okay. Now, for example, now you teach in a school. That school has lots of functions to celebrate cultural events, sports events, and all that. They are not jot down in any curriculum, right? But that is the school culture. And you know, the students will learn, right? Um, to accept uh, defeat in good spirit, uh, collaboration, cooperation, involvement in art, and it will make them happy, and they will develop a positive personality, and all these things happen in the school because of the school culture, and because of that, the students learn a lot of things, and they are never actually jotted down in a written curriculum. That those things are actually the school culture. That is why we always actually, when we want to send our students, not students, our own children to school, we want to select the best, because that school culture matters a lot. That school culture, the teachers, how they behave. If the teachers are very rude and not doing any proper work and wasting time and not with good personalities, it affects the child, because the child learns by looking at them wrong things. But if the teachers are very good and all that, by looking up to them, the students also learn a lot of things which are not actually written down anywhere in a curriculum. This type of curriculum is not formally planned or taught, but influences students' attitudes, values, and behaviors a lot, right? Now, some example, for example, um, uh, one of the schools, right? They have this Friday 1 hour meditation, 1 hour meditation on every Friday. So that is not jotted down in any of the curriculums. It's not the written curriculum. That is the school right? And it influences the child's thankful, to be happy, to be kind of religious or like that. They learn a lot of things because of these practices in the schools. So for the development of attitudes, values, and behaviors, this hidden curriculum of the school and the implicit curriculum of the school is very important. We call it the school culture. By school, right? Most of the students economic backgrounds, poor,
Yes, madam.
and they
Excuse me, madam.
actually use bad language. Yeah, yeah.
Can
Your
you
sound.
speak a
Yes,
little
Yes.
bit louder?
Louder. Am I not clear? Am I not clear, Puta?
Sometimes.
I'm not loud enough.
Yes, madam. Not loud enough.
Connection. Okay. Let me check my connection. Give me a second. Hello. Hello.
Yes, madam.
Now okay, neither.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. If it is so bad, tell me, right? So that is the hidden curriculum. Now, what's your experience? Now, there are some schools, actually, the teachers are very friendly. They organize a lot of projects, events, and the students are actively participating in all those. They are not actually written in any document, right? That is the school culture, the environment, and the behavior of the teachers and the stakeholders. And they actually help the development of attitudes, values, and behaviors of the children. And that is why we always, now it's the same syllabus, even if it is in school A and B and C, it's the same syllabus done. But the parents want the students to go to leading schools because they have their own cultures, a lot of events, um, uh, extracurricular activities, and all that. They help the development of the child, especially the attitudes, values, and behaviors. So that is the hidden curriculum or the implicit curriculum. Uh, Key features unwritten. They are not written down like in a formal curriculum or the explicit curriculum. Often unspoken lessons and norms. Shapes students' social, ethical, and emotional development. Can reflect societal norms, power structure, and biases. A student learns to value punctuality simply because the school enforces strict attendance policies. Now, සමහර ස්කෝලවල තියෙනවා you can't go late. Attendance is actually very, uh, they are very particular about attendance and punctuality. So the child learns this habit from the school, right? It is not jotted down in a curriculum. And there are some schools, they make actually very, yeah, yeah. Now, there are some schools, they actually make each and every child should learn, engage in at least one or two extracurricular activities. So they promote it. No? Now, another example is the peer interaction that encourages cooperative learning and competition, affecting students' social skills and teamwork. That is teachers. No, teachers actually give them a lot of peer interaction opportunities, clubs, associations, working with others, right? එතකොට ඒ වගේව ප්‍රමෝට් කරන ස්කූල් එක ළමයිගේ skills development වෙනවා. So that is not jotted down in any curriculum, right? Advantage is can be a powerful tool for teaching important social and cultural values. Helps to shape the social environment in a positive way, right? They develop their social skills. Disadvantage is can perpetuate unintended or harmful values such as bias or inequality, not explicitly controlled by teachers or curriculum designers, making it harder to address. That, of course, differ from school to school, right? Because of that, there's no standardization. That is what it is said here as an advantage, disadvantage. Okay. Then we'll go to the third type of curriculum. That is null curriculum. Okay. Null curriculum. Null කියන්නේ zero කියන එකයි. What is meant by null curriculum? It refers to what is deliberately left out of the formal curriculum. It refers to what is deliberately left out of the formal curriculum, deliberately left out from the formal curriculum. It represents the subjects, topics, or the perspectives that are not included or excluded from the educational experience of variety of reasons, maybe often due to cultural, political, practical considerations. I will give you a very good example from Sri Lankan context. Sex education, gender uh, kind of up, sex education, අනිතික තමයි gender roles, biases. They are ඕනකමින්ම, right? Deliberately, they are not incorporated into our curriculum, right? They are not incorporated into curriculum. But if you go to some other developed countries, European countries, they start sex education in the primary itself, right? But we actually deliberately we have left it out because it's our culture, it's our attitude, it's our thinking. Because of that, they are not deliberately put into the formal curriculum, that is the null curriculum. Is it clear to you?
Yes, madam. Okay.
Yeah. Key features. What is not taught or addressed in the formal curriculum can be influenced by political, religious, or cultural factors, often reflects what is considered inappropriate or irrelevant to a particular society or institution. Deliberately, they are left out. Okay. Now, I do not know. There are Muslims in my class today. So you have your own cultures. It's obvious fact. But I don't know whether some subjects are not taught to girls, like dance. I do not know, I'm asking. This is an assumption. I can see Sumaya here. Sumaya, do you have a subject called dance? Is it allowed?
No, ma'am.
Yeah. So it's deliberately actually left out. Am I right?
Yes, ma'am.
So that is actually null curriculum for you. That is deliberately left out of the formal curriculum due to cultural, social, religious beliefs. That is null curriculum. Okay. Now here, in some countries, the study of evolution might be omitted from the biology curriculum due to religious or ideological beliefs. Right? They think that evolution, they look Vishwas Karanna, instead they think that God created this world. Now, I'm a Catholic. I also believe in that. God created this world. So because of that, they purposely actually remove this study of evolution from the written curriculum. That is null curriculum, right? Alternatively, sex education or certain historical perspectives may be left out of the curriculum based on political and societal preferences. And there are some countries, they don't teach any religion in the school, right? Instead, they actually teach philosophies. What is Buddhist philosophy? What is like that? But they don't actually teach religion. It is actually null curriculum because it's deliberately left out, thinking that it will actually create divisions, right? Advantage allows curriculum to focus on subject deemed more essential and appropriate. So null curriculum actually allows the students to learn the most essential and appropriate knowledge, subject matters, can reflect societal values and needs. By disadvantages, omitting certain topics may limit students' exposure to diverse ideas, can create biases or gaps in students' education because sex education, sexual orientations, they are not taught to them, right? Rights, women rights, human rights, they are not taught. So these are actually now purposely they are actually left out. Na? Actually, they lack exposure to these subjects. Their opportunity to learn diverse subjects is actually uh, not given to them. That is null curriculum. Then we'll go to recommended curriculum, the fourth type. Are you all actually getting what I'm telling, please?
Yes, madam, it's clear.
It's clear. Now we are looking at the fourth type, okay? The fourth type is recommended curriculum. What is recommended curriculum? The recommended curriculum is the curriculum suggested by experts, including educational authorities, curriculum developers, and subject matter experts. It's often based on research, best practices, and the needs of society and aims to provide students with the most relevant and up-to-date content. Recommended curriculum. Developed by experts or educational bodies, provides recommendations for curriculum design and teaching methods, often aligns with national and regional educational standards and framework. Example, the national curriculum for English in the United Kingdom provides recommended learning outcomes for students to various stages, including developing reading and writing skills, understanding literature, and preparing for standardized exams. Now, recommended curriculum in the Sri Lankan context, I can tell you. Now, if you are in an international school, you can have a choice whether you are going to do your local syllabus, whether you are going to offer the Cambridge, whether you are going to offer edXL. Am I right? Am I right? Yeah. But the school or the institution or the stakeholders, they decide what is the best curriculum to offer. What is the best curriculum to offer? And they select the Cambridge. They select the local syllabus curriculum. They select edXL, and that is actually the recommended curriculum. How do they select? They look at the overall utility value of this curriculum, right? And what is the best practices? They actually do research on that. And what is the best uh, practices in education? And accordingly, they select what is suitable for them, whether it's Cambridge or local or edXL. That selected curriculum is the recommended curriculum. Are you okay? Are you okay?
Okay, madam.
Yeah. Then taught curriculum. Taught curriculum. If you look at taught curriculum, now there is the written curriculum, but everything in the curriculum is not taught, right? What you actually taught in the classroom is the taught curriculum. There is a written curriculum, but what you actually taught in the classroom is the taught curriculum. What is the difference? Do we actually exactly what is given in the curriculum as it is? We are not going to implement it, right? According to the level of the students, according to the time restrictions, according to the kind of utility value and all that. There is a slight changes sometimes into the taught curriculum, what is taught in the classroom. While it may align with the written curriculum, it is influenced by the teacher's interpretation, resources, and teaching style. That happens. It is aligned with the written curriculum. You are implementing the written curriculum. But when it comes to actual implementation, what is taught in the classroom and how it is taught in the classroom slightly changes, and that is referred to as the taught curriculum. Why does it slightly change? It slightly changes because, resources available and teacher expertise available and the level of the students, time, all these can be taken into consideration, and it will not be implemented as exactly as it was written down. Because of that, the what is aligned with the written curriculum, but um, how it is implemented decides the taught curriculum. Is it clear to you? Is it clear to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, for example, you can take now in the syllabus that you're teaching, maybe you're teaching English, we take, right? There are a lot of speaking activities in the syllabus. Speaking skill has a lot of weightage. Listening is also the same. But you know, at the examination, listening and speaking is not tested. So you actually spend more time on grammar, vocabulary, reading, and writing, and give less emphasis on listening and speaking. So you are actually implementing the written curriculum, but you actually have done slight changes to cater to the practical situation. That is, if you spend a lot of time on listening and speaking in the O-level class, in which that speaking and listening is not tested, then the students will not face the written examination where reading, writing, vocabulary, and grammar is put in a proper way. So you become very practical and you do less listening and speaking and more reading, writing, etc. Though the curriculum is otherwise. That is the taught curriculum example. Are you okay?
Yes, ma'am.
What is the advantage? Allows for flexibility and teacher creativity in adapting lessons to students' needs. There's flexibility. You can cater to students' need. That is what no O levels. No speaking and listening. Because you can spend more time on writing and reading. It's the need of the student, right, in the O level class. It's flexible and can easily adapt to cater to the students' needs. Teachers can adjust the curriculum to meet immediate learning goals. Immediate learning goals. Actually, if they develop their speaking, it's really good in the job market, in the higher education. But immediate need is passing the O-level exam. So you can adjust the curriculum to meet the immediate learning goals. What is the disadvantage? Variability in teaching styles. Uniformity is not there, right? Now, in the country, in Sri Lanka, there are 10,000 schools. And all the schools send their children to O levels exam, same exam they face. But when there is actually differences to the written curriculum, uniformity is not there because of the taught curriculum, right? Can result in missed content and uneven coverage of required topics. එතකොට standardization නැති වෙනවා. Uniformity will not be there. Okay? Then we'll go to the last one, learned curriculum. We go to the last one, learned curriculum. Okay? What is this learned curriculum? Second, I want to actually, Sumaya, if you can actually mute your mic better. Sumaya, mute your mic. That is one, Sumaya, your mic should be muted, dear. Sumaya is not listening there. Is there a way that I can mute her mic?
What I do?
Sumaya, muted. Right. Now we get to the last type. That is the learned curriculum. Okay? That is the learned curriculum. The learned curriculum refers to the actual learning outcomes that students achieve after going through the curriculum. The actual learning outcomes the students achieve. Realization of ILOs, intended learning outcomes of the curriculum. actually what the students achieve at the end of the learning. That is actually is the learned curriculum. It is the end result of the interaction between curriculum teaching and student engagement. It may or may not align perfectly with the intended learning objectives of the formal curriculum, right? Key features represents what students actually learn and retain, can differ from the taught curriculum because depending on the student engagement and understanding. Taught curriculum may differs from the learned curriculum. Taught curriculum is what is taught. Learned curriculum is what is learned by the students. There's a gap, right? A student may have studied Shakespearean drama as part of their English literature curriculum, but may end up learning more about literary analysis and critical thinking rather than memorizing specific facts about Shakespeare's life and works. So that is the learned curriculum. එතකොට advantage එක තමයි learned curriculum එකේ it provides insight into the effectiveness of the curriculum. කොච්චර effective the curriculum කියන එක දැනගන්නට පුළුවන්. එතකොට it highlights the curriculum adjustments or revision or reforms needed. Disadvantage is may not align with the intended learning outcomes and difficult to measure consistency across different students populations. So this is what we can actually discuss under types of curriculum. So we discuss written or explicit curriculum. Then we discussed implicit or the hidden curriculum, null curriculum, recommended curriculum, and then taught curriculum and learned curriculum. If I ask you, can you remember what are the 6 types of curriculums that we discussed?
Explicit formal curriculum,
Yeah,
implicit curriculum or hidden curriculum,
very good.
null curriculum, recommended curriculum,
Okay,
taught curriculum, and learned curriculum.
learned curriculum, right? And you can actually, if you all are teachers, you can now think of what are the null curriculums available, null curriculum, right? Now, for example, if it is a Muslim school, they will deliberately leave out, right? Dancing, because in your culture, it's not entertained, okay? And in some countries, religion is not taught. And in our context, sex education is deliberately omitted. That is null curriculum. And then you have recommended curriculum. So the institution, the stakeholders, they decide which curriculum to select, right? For example, now you're planning to go abroad. So your English language proficiency, whether you're going to do what because IELTS or whether PTE like that, you can design, right? That is the recommended curriculum. And then the learned and the taught curriculum. Taught curriculum also may slightly differ from the written curriculum due to the practical concerns, right? Immediate goals that the students have. Because of that, the teachers may change it. Learned curriculum is actually it's what the students learn from the written curriculum and from the what is taught. It depends on their interest, needs, utility value, and like that. Okay. So these are the types of curriculums that we discuss today as the second topic of the day. First, I did a recap on the 3 main approaches to curriculum design, forward, central, and backward. Then we discussed types of curriculum, 6 types. Am I right?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Yeah. And there's a repetition of one. So I actually removed that. So it is, this is number 5. And we'll go to the next. This is number 6. Okay. Let me set the chair. So I will put both of those into your chat box before I actually end the meeting. Now we will go to another topic, right? That topic is we have done the components of curriculum. What are the four main components of curriculum we discussed? What are the four main components of curriculum we discussed? මතක නෑ කියන්නේ for the day before, please.
Object, content, learning experience, evaluation. Or
Yeah,
assessment.
objectives or the ILOs. Objectives or ILOs. Content or the subject matter or the
Subject
input.
matter.
අපි කියන input, subject matter or the content. ඊළඟට තියෙනවා මොකද්ද?
Learning experience.
Learning experience or methodology. ඊළඟට තියෙනවා evaluation or assessment.
Assessment.
They are the four components, right? So today we will take the one of the most important components, that is the content. In the typical forward design, actually you start the development of curriculum focusing on the content to be taught. So we will discuss further the component of the one of the four components of the curriculum, that is content. Okay, so let me open my lecture note. Yeah. Oh. Sorry. Yeah. Right. This is it. So you can see what I have shared, am I right? Can you see what I have shared?
No, ma'am.
Not yet. Okay. Now,
No.
right. I will share it. First, I will ask you, what is meant by content of the curriculum? What is actually meant by content of the curriculum? Content or the input of the curriculum, that component. මොකද content එක කියලා කියන්නේ? The subject matter we have to teach, am I right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, the subject matter that we have to teach the students. That is the content, right? So content is always, the content refers to the subject matter, the topics, the themes, the concepts that are included in the curriculum. That is what is meant by content. So content refers to the subject matter, topics, themes, concepts that we include in the curriculum. So it helps achievement of the educational goals, ILOs, definitely, right? For example, in English syllabus, that you want the students to develop their ability to write letters, formal letters. That is the ILO. Students will be able to write formal letters. Okay, that is the ILO, intended learning outcome. So to teach that, you need content. So you will actually select formal letter of invitation, formal letter of complaint, formal letter of request, etc. So you will select a letter written to a government office. So that is actually the content for the realization of the development of the ILO, development of their writing ability, the sub skill or the competency level is right for official purposes. So that is the ILO, this is the content. So the content refers to the selection of subject matter, topics, themes, concepts to be included in the curriculum for the realization of educational goals or the ILOs. Am I right? Yes or
Yes.
no?
Yeah, ma'am.
Yeah. So with that understanding, we will come, I will share the document with you now. This is the one. Okay. Now the topic is one of the components of curriculum, that is the content. Content is the subject matter, the topics, concepts, themes that you actually incorporate into the curriculum for the realization of or for the achievement of the intended learning outcomes. That is very clear. But it is something very simple to say and finish it off like this. But it is one of the laborious tasks, when it comes to syllabus design, curriculum design. ලොකු ක්‍රියාවක් අප curriculum designing ගැන හිතුවොත් එක. It's a laborious task. Selection of the content and organization of the content is a very big task, a massive task when it comes to curriculum design. Okay? When you want to develop a curriculum, how to select the content and organize it across the years, is not that easy. It's not that easy. It's actually very serious and a massive big task. Okay, because of that, we are going to discuss selection and organization of curriculum content. So we are referring to one of the components of curriculum, that is the input or the content. And when it comes to input or the content, it means the subject matter, themes, topics, theories, and concepts that we have to teach the students for the realization of the intended learning outcomes of the curriculum. So, ඒක විතරක් කිව්වට ඒක very big task for the curriculum developers. So because of that, the discussion today, selection and organization of curriculum content, how it is done. So as teachers, you also should know how it is done. Why? Otherwise, you will take it for granted. You will take it for granted. You will not see the seriousness of it, right? And you will take it for granted. But you have to know the content to be taught as prescribed in the curriculum is very serious. Deviating from it is actually not ethical, not expected, not professional, right? So we are going to discuss that. Before that, I can see a message. Who has dropped me that message? Let me see. That is Shaza. Excuse me, madam, if you don't mind, can you speak a little bit louder, please? It's 8:36 just a while ago. Why am I not clear to you? I'm shouting at the Am I not clear, audible?
Okay, madam.
Pavani? Pavani, you said something?
Now it's okay, madam.
Now okay. Right, okay then. Then selection and organization of curriculum content. I don't know, I'm shouting, okay? If it is actually not easy to listen to, please let me know. I'm shouting at the top of my voice anyway. Selection and organization of curriculum content. Very serious thing. So you have to know the gravity of its seriousness into it, and you should not easily deviate from it, even though there is the flexibility. Because there's something called taught curriculum. You can't help it, right? You need to cater to the immediate needs of the learner. You have to think of the practical concerns, and then you will actually implement the written curriculum in a slightly different way, which is referred to as the taught curriculum. But though there is that flexibility, you need to think about the content very seriously, because it is actually very serious task. How this content to be taught and how it is organized across the curriculum is not an easy task. It is done with lots of expertise and understanding put into this. Okay, so we will come to the topic now. Curriculum design is deciding about the shape of a curriculum plan. It involves selection of content in line with the goals and objectives of the curriculum. As I told you, content is selected, what is to be taught, what topics, what themes, what concepts for the realization of ILOs, right? The selected content will have to be arranged in a form that will help teacher in choosing and organizing appropriate learning experiences for the classroom. I will read the rest and then explain. In this case, the focus of curriculum design based on selection and organization of content for learners and learning experiences. Obviously, the selection of content and learning experience will be based on sound theoretical framework. එහෙනම් මොකක්ද this theoretical framework to be adopted in the selection and organization of curriculum content? Theoretical framework එක තමයි, there are 7 criteria to be considered in the selection and organization of the content for the realization of the ILOs. I repeat, there's a theoretical framework or 7 criteria to be taken into consideration when the curriculum developers have to select the content, the subject matter to be taught for the realization of the ILOs. ඒක නිකන් තමන්ට ඕන විදිහට තෝරලා this is what we are going to teach කියලා content එක දාන්නේ නැහැ. Instead, they have 7 criteria accordingly that they have to select the content and organize it across the curriculum. So what are these 7 criteria to be taken into consideration in selecting the content or the subject matter to be taught for the realization of the ILOs, the objectives of the curriculum? They are the 7 criteria. Self-sufficiency. The first one is the 7 criteria I'm talking to you about. Self-sufficiency. Then significance. Self-sufficiency, significance. I can't scroll it up and down. No? Self-sufficiency, significance. Then validity, interest, utility, learnability, and feasibility. That is selection, content selection. What are the, now selection and organization කියලා දෙකක් තියෙනවා. First we look at criteria for selection of the subject matter or the content of the curriculum for the realization of the ILOs or the objectives. What are the 7 criteria? What is the theoretical framework otherwise? Self-sufficiency, significance, validity, interest, utility, learnability, and feasibility. Can you read, please? Then you can remember that. What are the content selection framework? What is the theoretical framework for content selection? Can you read? Self-sufficiency,
significant,
significance, validity,
interest,
interest, utility, learnability, and feasibility.
feasibility.
Right. Now I will tell you. We live in a knowledge society. What is the meaning of knowledge society? What is the meaning of knowledge society? Knowledge is power. Knowledge is power. And knowledge doubles. There is knowledge explosion. අපිට තිබුණා industrialized society, stone age, ඒ වගේ තිබුණා. හැබැයි දැන් IT නේද, technology ඒ වගේ තිබුණා. දැන් අපි කියන්නේ knowledge society. ඒ කියන්නේ knowledge කියන එක very powerful and it doubles. It's very fast moving. එතකොට මොනවද අපි තුමු history, right? History. The subject is history. Now, what is the subject matter to be you taught? It's a vast subject. So you have to select what is to be taught. Now, if you take English, we all know English, though we are not English teachers, every one of you. We know English. Now, this is a grade 6 class. So what English to be taught in grade 6? How much of writing, how much of grammar, how much of vocabulary, and what type of them are to be taught in grade 6? That is actually very difficult to decide. In a vast knowledge, there's a vast knowledge available. You can't fathom it. And then selecting, right, a bit of it. It has to be the best choice, right? It has to be the best choice. So that selection of the content to be taught is done using a theoretical framework in which that you have 7 criteria, right? So we will take one by one. First is the self-sufficiency. So I will get one of you to read those 2 paragraphs on self-sufficiency, and then I will explain it to you. Is it okay? Yeah.
Okay, ma'am.
Can one of you read, please?
To help learners attain maximum self-sufficiency in the most economical manner is the main guiding principle of subject matter or content section. Selection. As cited by Bill Beo, ETL. Although the economy of learning implies less teaching effort and less use of educational resources, students gain more results. They can cope up with the learning outcomes effectively. This criterion means that students should be given a chance to experiment, observe, and do field study. The system allows them to learn independently. With this principle in mind, when the student return, they should present outputs from the activity.
Right. Okay. Thank you, Sumaya. Now, the first criteria in the theoretical framework of selection of the subject matter for the curriculum is self-sufficiency. Self-sufficiency means that the content, the subject matter that you select, right? It should be very economical with regard to time, with regard to utility value, and with regard to resources, with regard to the results. Okay. Now, for example, the content that you select, right? It should actually serve development of and the realization of the ILOs to the maximum. Now, for example, students at the end of the program, students will be able to develop their ability to do a presentation. That is the intended learning outcome. So if the subject matter or the content you select, right, should definitely be helpful for them to develop it to the maximum possibility, right? So it will actually help them to engage in self-learning, develop it further on their own, the subject matter that you select. So it should be economical when it comes to the efforts, use of resources, etc. Now, the subject matter helps them to develop that ability with less teaching efforts and less use of educational resources. So the teacher doesn't have to actually kill herself in teaching the subject matter. The teacher doesn't need a lot of resources to teach the subject matter. Otherwise, it will actually not be very useful. So it will allow the students to engage in self-learning, experiment, observe, do field study, etc., and allow them to learn independently. So if you actually select the content keeping all these elements in mind, it will lead to self-sufficiency. So I will repeat it again. I will repeat it. I repeat, self-efficiency is selecting the subject matter to be taught for the realization of the ILO, which is very economical in teaching efforts, in the use of educational resources, and which promotes independent learning, allowing students to actually experiment, observe, and do field study. Right? That is actually self-sufficiency nature of the content. So when you select the content, self-sufficiency is important. So you have to select subject matter which can be easily taught, which is economical, with, in terms of teaching efforts and the utilization of resources, and which actually allow the students to engage in learning independently by doing experiments, observations, and field study. You have to use that kind of content. Otherwise, it is a difficulty for the students, and it is very difficult to implement as well. Okay, that is number one. So we'll go to the significance as the second criteria out of the 7 criteria in the theoretical framework of selecting the content or the subject matter. I will get one of you to read the second paragraph, significance, and then explain it. Who will read?
The subject
Shall I
matter.
read?
Okay.
What is it?
Shall I read, madam?
Yes, please.
The subject matter or content is significant if it is selected and organized for the development of learning activities, skills, process, and attitude. It also develops the 3 domains of learning, namely the cognitive, affective, and psychomotor skills, and considers the cultural aspects of the learners. Particularly, if your students come from different cultural backgrounds and races, the subject matter must be cultural sensitive. In short, select content or subject matter that can achieve the overall aim of the curriculum.
Right. Thank you very much. That was Pavani. Am I right?
Yes, madam.
Yeah, good. So then we'll look at the second criteria, significance. When it comes to significance, that is the importance. So the subject matter you select, okay? The subject matter or the topics or the themes or the concepts that you select to teach for the realization of ILOs, they should actually help the development of students' knowledge, attitudes, and skills. Not only knowledge, but attitudes and skills as well, right? So it should cater to all the 3 domains of the development: knowledge, attitudes, and skills, right? And then further, you have to actually select the content based on cultural sensitivity. Based on cultural sensitivity. Now, for example, in Sri Lankan context, if you actually have a reading passage on living together, it is not actually accepted with open arms in a secondary school, getting the learner to read about living together. But in the European context, it is nothing. You can actually put it into their books because that is cultural sensitivity. Now, for example, um, being a vegetarian, right? Some cultures, of course, do not promote vegetarianism. They are eat meaters. They eat flesh. If we actually talk a lot about being vegetarian is good and it is kindness to animals and all that to them most, it will actually irritate the other cultures. Am I right? So cultural sensitivity is also very important. Uh, so it comes under the significance of the content. Okay. And then the third part is the content that you select should facilitate the achievement of the ILOs, realization of the ILOs. You have to definitely see to the ILOs and see whether the content that you select is aligned with the ILOs and you will be able to actually achieve it. So these come under significance, the criteria significance. There are 3 elements in the significance. See whether it can be used to develop the 3H, not only one domain, knowledge, but knowledge, attitudes, and skills, both all the 3 domains. Then see the cultural sensitivity, cultural aspects of the particular content, and then think whether this content or the subject matter is the best to achieve the overall aim of the curriculum. That is the ILOs. Okay. That comes under significance. Okay then.
Okay, madam.
Yeah. Now you go to validity. Right? Validity. If you take validity, it is another criteria in the theoretical framework of selection of content. Okay. So I get one of you to read validity and explain it.
Validity refers to the authenticity of the subject matter or content you selected. Make sure that the topics are not obsolete. For example, do not include typewriting as a skill to be learned by college students. It should be about the computer or information technology. Thus, there is a need to check regularly the subject matter or content of the curriculum and replace it if necessary. Do not wait for another 5 years to change it. Modern curriculum experts are after current trends, relevance, and authenticity of the curriculum. Otherwise, the school or the country becomes obsolete.
Obsolete. Okay, thank you. That was Rista. So if you take validity of the subject matter you select, you have to make sure that the subject matter you select is authentic. What is meant by authentic? It is actually real life, right? Authenticity means the real life situations. So the subject matter that you select is applicable to the real life. Real life means in workplaces, in adult education, that they are actually, they can be used. That knowledge is important. So the content select or the subject matter you select should be very authentic. It should represent the real life, right? And real life. And then they should not be obsolete. Obsolete can outdated. Now there's a very nice example given. Our time, right? Our time. Now, this is actually about 30 years ago. No, not 30 years, actually speaking, right? Yes, 20, maybe 35 years ago. When I was doing my A levels, there was a subject called, I didn't do, stenography. Stenography, right? There is nothing to do with stenography now. නේද ස්ටෙනෝග්‍රැෆි කියලා කියන්නේ typewriting. හැබැයි දැන් අපි උගන්වන ළමයිට computer and information technology and AI. The stenography is actually obsolete, outdated, right? So similarly, when it comes to the subject matter we teach in the school, there's no point in talking about outdated subject matter. I will give you a very good example. It is only one single lesson I'm talking to you about. It was a kind of English lesson, and the teacher trainees lesson observations were done by me. And she did a kind of a reading lesson, and it's about the 7 wonders of the world. 7 wonders of the world. And she actually has that reading passage taken from a paper or something and then distributed among the students and did a reading lesson. And one of the students told, I also didn't know actually speaking, though I was the observer, right? One of the students told, teacher, these are the old ones. The new 7 wonders of the world are not as same as this. So the teacher was teaching something lacking validity. Am I right? Am I right?
Yes, mother.
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
That example of this stenography is also very. So we have to think of updated information, content to be taught, and at the same time, it has to be very authentic. That means representation of real world, right? Real world, workplaces, higher education, and all that. Something that cannot be used in real life is actually obsolete. No, තේරුමක් නෑ ඉගෙනගෙන කියලා තමයි කියන්නේ. Okay. Now, for example, in teacher training programs, the subject philosophy, right? The subject philosophy. Now, most of the concepts in philosophy that we learned, ඒවා දැන් උගන්වන්නේ නැහැ. ඇයි? They are of no use කියලා තමයි ඒවා අයින් කරලා අලුත් ඒවා දාලා තියෙනවා. Right? Emerging ones, feminism, queer theories, අර පරණ තාලේ තිබුණ idealism ඒවා වැඩි උගන්වන්න යන්නේ නැහැ. Because they are obsolete now. Right? Okay. Then the fourth element of the theoretical frame of content selection, that is interest. So I will get one of you to read that paragraph, which is a very small one, and we'll explain it if it needs. If it's needed. Who will read? Who will read?
Madam, can I?
Yes, please, dear.
This criterion is true to the learner-centered curriculum. Students
Ah.
learn best if the subject matter is meaningful to them. It becomes meaningful if they are interested in it. However, if the curriculum is subject-centered, teachers have no choice to finish the pacing schedule religiously and only teach what is in the book. This approach explains why many fail in the subject.
Very good. Now it is, thank you very much. Who read it? I missed it. Sumaya, the kid. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
ma'am.
thank you, Sumaya. Now here, interest. Actually, when you select the subject matter to be incorporated into the curriculum, you have to think of this interests of the students. If the students are not interested in the subject matter that you select, if it is, it's going to be a failure. So how will the students actually show interest? It should be meaningful to them, right? It should be meaningful to them. Otherwise, actually, if they don't see any use, any meaning in what you teach them, they will lack interest in learning it. For example, uh, a good teacher, when you teach the subject matter, you have to tell the students, right? Now, I'm giving you now, you have to actually select your own material, right? Your own material content. It's a set of girls, grade 9. It's a set of boys, grade 9. What would you select for the girls? What would you select for the boys? You might think girls are interested in fashion. So to develop their reading skill, I will actually get them to read an article on fashion. It's a set of boys. Boys are interested in sports. So to develop their reading skills, I will select an article on sports. That is actually the catering to their interest. Am I right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
So in the selection of subject matter, that is also one of the criteria. You have to actually think of the students who it is targeted at. A level, the grade 6, accordingly the topics differ. Am I right? A level නම් වෙන topics ඒගොල්ලන්ට දාන්න පුළුවන්. 6 නම් its topics differ. So you have to think of the students it's targeted at, and then think of their interests, and then accordingly select the subject matter for the achievement of the goals or the objectives of the curriculum. Okay? That is තමයි හොඳ මේවා content එක තෝරගන්නේ. ඊළඟට තව criteria එකක් තියෙනවා. The utility value. Let's see. One of you can read utility. I will explain it further then.
Another criterion is the usefulness of the content or subject matter. Students think that a subject matter some subjects are not important to them. They view it useless. As a result, they do not study. Here are the questions that students often ask. Will I need the subject in my job? Will it give meaning to my life? Will it develop my potentials? Will it solve my problem? Will it be part of the test? Will I have a passing mark if I learn it? Students only value the subject matter or content if it is useful to them.
Right. Thank you, Kanchana. Good. Right. That is utility value. That is another criteria, the usefulness of the content or the subject matter. Students think that subject matter or subjects are important to them. I will give you a very good example, right? Now, when you teach a grade 11 students English, graph description is actually a bit boring and advanced. They don't like it because it's a bit challenging for them. But I used to tell, because I started my career as a teacher, this is sometimes back, I'm telling you. So I used to tell them, I actually start graph description with them by showing them past papers. So you're going for your O levels this December. Look at the past papers. Each and every year, there's a graph description given to you for 10 marks. Those days, my paper O level. When they don't want to learn graph description, it's challenging and they are not motivated. But when I showed them the utility value, this December, you can score 10 marks from your paper if you learn this. They are motivated, they become serious, and I can easily teach them graph description. That is actually the utility value. When they see this piece is very important to me, they will actually learn that content. Because of that, when you select the content, you have to think of the utility value, then it will be easily learned. They are motivated to learn that. Another example, now you incorporate some biodata writing, CV writing into A-level general English. Now, after A levels, definitely that even if they get into higher education, right, they have to write their CVs, right? So they will take interest definitely because it's going to be very useful for them. So you have to actually select the content. It should actually be aligned with the ILOs, right? Objectives to be realized. But you have to select the best by thinking of the utility value that it will have, then the students will be motivated to learn. Okay then? Because students actually think whether I need to learn this, whether it will be helpful for my future. So you have to show them, and when you select the content also, you have to think in terms of its utility. Got it or you didn't get that? I want your response.
Got the idea,
Got
ma'am.
it, mother.
Got the idea. So curriculum developers, when they think of the component, one of the 4 components is the content. When they want to select the content, it should be aligned with the ILOs, realization of intended learning outcomes of the objectives. But still, they have to consider this criteria in the theoretical framework that they have to use. Right. Then the next one is learnability. Can one of you read that small paragraph on learnability?
The subject matter or content must be within the schema of the learners. It should be within their experiences. Teachers should apply theories in the psychology of learning to know how subjects are presented, sequenced, and organized to maximize the learning capacity of the students.
Very good. Thank you. That was Pavani. So the learnability is the subject matter that you put into the content, right, of the curriculum that should be easily learned by the students. That means if a grade 6 students, if you put big theories that cannot be understood by them in grade 6, learnability is not there. Am I right? Am I right?
Yeah, ma'am.
Yes. So that you have to make sure that the subject matter you select is easily learned and it caters to their cognitive levels, a schema of learning, and it is simplified to cater to their levels, right? The prior knowledge is there, right? Now, if it is a grade 6 students, they don't have any prior knowledge. So all of a sudden that you teach them passive voice, they have not learned active voice. Then of course, learnability is not there because in between there are gaps. So how can they learn passive voice when they do not know their active voice? So then when you select the content, you have to make sure that they can be learned by the learners because it caters to their schema, it caters to their cognition, it caters to their levels, and there are no gaps, right? That is learnability. You have to check that. For example, if it is a grade 7 class that you want to introduce English language grammar, and that is actually passive voice. So you have to make sure that they have learned all the active voice in previous grades. Otherwise, that it is not, there's no learnability there. The gap is there, they will not learn, right? Okay, so when you actually select the content, you have to think of the learnability as well. Then the last one is the feasibility. Okay, can I get one of you to read that last paragraph?
Feasibility means full implementation of the subject matter. It should consider the real situation of the school, the government, and the society in general. Students must learn within the allowable time and the use of resources available.
Do not give them a topic that is impossible to finish. For example, you have only 1 week left to finish the unit, but then the activities may take a month for a student to complete. Thus, this requirement is not feasible. Do not offer a computer subject if there is no even electricity in the area or there are no computers at all. Further, feasibility means that there should be teachers who are experts in that area. For example, do not offer English for business communication if there is no teacher to handle it. Also, there is a need to consider the nature of the learners. The organization and design of the subject matter or content must be appropriate to the nature of students.
Very good. Thank you, Anju. So now here feasibility is practically whether it can be implemented, whether it can be taught practically. Now, what are the practical issues that we cannot teach the content? One issue is no good teachers, no facilities. You can't teach computers when they don't have electricity, right? So facilities, resources, resource किंवा human resource का teacher. If there are no resources, the teaching of this content is not feasible, not practical, not possible. So you have to think of this resource availability. And it's not only resource availability. And you have to think whether this content can be learned by the students. Learnability के में कुछ सकता है, right? Anyway, feasibility is practically that you can't actually teach that due to various reasons, especially due to lack of resources, human resources and physical resources. Now, for example, I will give a very good example. Now, during this Gotabe period, not Mahinda Rajapaksa period, right? During Mahinda Rajapaksa period, English language curriculum was revised and they introduced some spoken English that is taken from India. කාට හරි මතකද මොකක්ද ඒක කිව්වේ කියලා? They had a special name also for that. Anyway, it's spoken English. And they actually gave a circular to schools telling every Friday that you need to do these spoken activities in the class here. English for life or whatever. Okay. And then the feasibility was not there. Why? Now we have a lengthy syllabus to cover, and then Fridays are taken for the spoken English. That syllabus cannot be covered. And at the end of the day, they go for the term test and the final exams, and no speaking is tested. Feasibility is not there. Another reason is that in a class, you have about 55 students. Speaking activities cannot be done with 55 students because you have to monitor them. You have to see whether they speak. So you can just get them to look at you and go on speaking. That is what you can do when you have 55 large class. So feasibility was not there. And then the whole school, right? No labs, no places, because you can't be doing these activities in the typical classroom. So resources were not available. And some teachers were not trained in that. So then due to lack of resources, actually that was actually halfway stopped. It was not a successful project, right? So that is feasibility. Is it clear to you? So you have to think of that feasibility as well when you actually consider, when you select the content to be put into the curriculum. Is it clear to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So they are the 7 criteria of content selection, right? Self-sufficiency, significance, validity, interest, utility, learnability, and feasibility. So then we have another topic here, but it is big. Now we have only another 10 minutes. I can't actually finish the discussion. That is content organization. This is selection of the content. No. Then we have to think of principles of content organization. That is also a big topic. Scope, sequence, and then how to sequence them, simple to complex, spiral, prerequisites, and all these things should be discussed next day with regard to content organization. So today we discuss content selection because content is one of the four components of curriculum, and then we first started with content. Got it?
Yes, madam.
Yeah. Do you want me to put this note into your chat?
Yes,
Yes,
madam.
ma'am.
Yeah. But content organization, I will not put. Okay. Because it's not yet done, then you will get it confused, Nissa. So I will copy paste it into a new document, Word document, and put
Madam,
it into the chat. Yes, dear.
madam, we did not get the last presentation, madam.
I put it into the chat now, dear.
We only got the two micro Word documents, madam. Sorry, one document and one presentation, madam. The
So
last
that
one,
the last one is what?
a presentation.
I don't get you now.
No, ma'am.
ඒක තමයි අද මම අර දැම්මේ නේද approaches to teach, approaches to syllabus designing කියලා දැන් මේක නෙමෙයිද?
No, madam. අර මේ blue color එකේ තිබ්බ madam theme එකේ slides 21ක්ද කොහෙද වගේ එහෙම මතකයි madam. ඒක දාන්න බැලුවා මේක අර දාන්න බැරි වුණ හින්දා madam කිව්වා send කරනවා කියලා campus එකට.
What is that? So I tell you now, this cannot be copy pasted. Because of that, I will actually put the whole document to the chat today. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
And the rest will be covered next time. Okay. Content
Okay.
organization will be covered next time. Is it okay?
Okay, ma'am.
Now, what you are asking for is not very sure of me because if I remember right, that I actually put it into.
Yeah, ma'am. We got we received one presentation and small circulum and syllabus difference table.
ඒක හම්බුණානේ.
ඒක හම්බුණා madam.
Ah.
ඒකයි තව slide එකේ එකක් madam දෙම්මා ඒකත් හම්බුණා. තව එකක් madam දාන්න
I
බැලුවා.
told you that it is about approaches to teach, the approaches in curriculum design කියන එක. ඒක
Yeah,
තිබුණේ ලොකු PowerPoint එකක. The rest
Yes, ma'am.
is irrelevant. So I told you I will actually develop a note, prepare a note and give. So I gave
Okay.
you my note today. Am I right?
Okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am.
Ask others. That is what I told you till I remember. Ask others also. ඒ PowerPoint එකේ තිබුණේ පොඩි slides දෙක තුනයි.
Yeah.
Then I
Then
told you now I have no
Yeah.
time to actually
Yeah,
remove it
sorry,
because of that
madam.
I will prepare a note and send කියලා. So today I
Oh,
gave you the note.
yeah, ma'am. I forgot, madam. Sorry, madam.
Yeah, it's okay, no problem, Sumaya. That is good that you take interest and ask like this. So I don't
Right.
think that I can do anything else today. So I will give
Okay,
you a
ma'am.
recap on what we did today. So can you tell me what we did first today?
Approaches
Yeah.
and three
Approaches කියලා නිකන්
approaches.
ඉන්න බෑ. මොනවද? Approaches is very incomplete. The three main
Curriculum design
approaches to
approach.
curriculum design. The three main approaches to curriculum design. What are the three main approaches?
Forward design, central design, backward design.
Yeah. In the forward design, the focus is the content. And it is linear. First, you decide on the content to be taught, and then you design the process or the teaching methodologies, and then finally you decide the ILOs or the objectives. Okay, it's a linear one. It is very traditional way of developing a curriculum. That's enough. Okay. But we'll go to the second type, that is the central, no. What is the second type?
Central, madam. Central design.
Central design. In the central design, first you decide on the teaching methodology, and then concurrently you decide on the content and the objectives. It is non-linear because your focus is on the methodology, but the rest, that is ILOs and the content, are concurrently done. ඒක හරිම deviating from the standardized way. So because of that, it may be a challenging thing, but you can easily cater to the students' immediate needs. That is the advantage, right? ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ needs දිහා බලලා what they use the language, what subject matter for, and accordingly you do. Right. And then the last one is the backward design. In the backward design, the first you decide on the objectives of the ILOs, right? And then for the realization of the ILOs, you select the content and the methodology concurrently. That is also non-linear. First, the ILOs, intended learning outcomes. So that is actually the existing local syllabus in our schools. That is actually developed using the backward design, because they have done a survey and they have decided these are the intended learning outcomes for each grade, and then accordingly they selected the content and the methodology taught, right? And that is done by experts. So you can't actually cater to the immediate needs of the learner, but it is a standardized one. Okay. So then after discussing the three main approaches to curriculum design, we discussed types of curriculum. Am I right?
Yes, ma'am.
What are the 6 types of curriculum we discussed?
Learn
First,
curriculum.
explicit or the written curriculum. Okay. Second one,
Taught curriculum.
Implicit curriculum
implicit
or hidden
or the
curriculum.
hidden
Hidden
curriculum. Okay. Third one,
Null curriculum.
null curriculum. Fourth one,
Recommended curriculum.
recommended curriculum. Fifth one,
Taught curriculum.
taught curriculum, and
Learned curriculum.
learned curriculum. Learned curriculum. Okay, then we discuss that by giving some examples and all that. And then our next topic was what?
Content.
Yeah, one of the components of the curriculum. Curriculum has 4 components: objectives, content, methodology or the process, and the evaluation. We isolated the one of the components, that is content. Content is the subject matter, the themes, the topics, the concepts that you have to teach your students for the realization of the intended learning outcomes of the curriculum. So it is something not simple. It is laborious, the selection of the content. So today we look at the framework for the selection of the content for the curriculum. Am I right? In that framework, how many criteria were there for the content selection? 7. What are the 7 criteria for content selection in the theoretical framework we discussed?
self-sufficiency,
Very good.
significance,
Mm.
validity, interest, utility, learnability, feasibility.
Very good. That is it. In selecting the content, you have to consider this criteria, right? So then next day we will discuss content organization, and then we will discuss in very brief manner the other three components of the curriculum, namely the process, evaluation, and the intended learning outcomes, very brief. And then the last day, we will be discussing curriculum modules, 2 or 3 curriculum modules. Then we finish the discussion because there are only 4 days. Okay. So learn it today itself because your exams are this year itself, right? Once you finish the module that you will be having your exams, because of that, you need to actually study everyday basis, regular basis. So thank you for joining. We'll see you next day. Good night.
Thank you, madam. Good night.
Night,
You understand what I'm discussing, right?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
madam.
Okay, no problem then. Thank you.